Hey friends, my name's Tanya. This is She's At It Again. And good news, somebody has a birthday and I get to make a dessert. So it's not going to stay at my house. My neighbor Corbin is my next door neighbor. He is turning 10 years old, or he did turn 10 years old a couple of days ago. I didn't make these for his birthday, but these are for after his birthday because he had a lot of family in town. He'd have to share them with everybody else. But anyway, he gets them all to himself now. Corbin is the oldest of 3 kids, but about to be oldest of 4 kids because his mom just found out that she's going to have another baby. So we're excited about that. They're such sweet kids and we absolutely adore him. He is so precious. But these cookies are going to him. These are called no-bake cookies. And if you've ever heard of no-bake cookies, you've probably also heard them called chocolate oatmeal cookies. That's what I grew up calling them, was chocolate oatmeal cookies. We didn't know what no-bakes were. When somebody first said that, I thought they were talking about something else. I don't know what it is. We were raised in the country, though. We didn't know. You know, your mom calls them something. That's just what you go with. So anyway, these are super simple to make. It just takes a few minutes from start to finish. Get all your ingredients out. I'll show you how to put the wax paper on a cutting board so they will not stick and they'll be easy to take off and put on a serving platter. If you have a watch or a timer and you can time a minute, then you can probably make these with no problem at all because it doesn't have to come up to a certain temperature in the pan. You just have to boil them for a minute. You have to boil them for at least a minute so they'll set up. Otherwise, they'll be runny. They'll still taste good, but they're going to be just not the best consistency that you want. These actually look like cookies if you cook them long enough. So watch the video, hope you enjoy it, and I hope you try them. These are really good. If you have a peanut allergy, my guess is you could probably replace the peanut butter, which is only 1/4 cup, replace it with either a sunflower butter or even tahini, which is a sesame paste. Now, I'm not sure, I'm just kind of thinking about that. I don't even know what I'm talking about, but I'm just trying to think of the consistency and the oiliness to it and what it contributes to the recipe itself. So if there's a peanut allergy involved, you might try tahini with this, which is just simply crushed sesame seeds, which I love. But I don't know what the flavor will be like on these. So anyway, hopefully you can enjoy these without anybody getting sick. But they sure are good. You don't even have to turn an oven on. So it's really nice during the summertime when you don't want your air conditioner to fight that. But you do need a burner, stovetop, something like that, and a pan. Don't make the pan too small. Make sure it's big enough to where you can put all your ingredients in there and still stir them up at the end. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you give it a try. So stay tuned. Okay, here we are at our stovetop, and I'm going to use, well, I was going to use this burner. Let me just get my camera back a bit so you can actually see this. I get in mind what looks the least distracting, and I know that this light reflection right here is distracting, so I apologize for that. I just don't know how to do this, but this is just the way my stove faces, and I can't really do anything about it. My island is another thing. I have a 4-foot by 8-foot island in the center of my kitchen, and I can do almost anything in there and put the camera at any angle, but with the stovetop, it's just a different story. So we're going to start out in our pan. We're going to put 1 stick of butter. I use unsalted butter, always, always, always. I'm going to put that in there. Now this recipe calls for a lot of sugar. When I say a lot of sugar, it's like 2 cups. That's a lot of sugar, but that's just me. When you don't eat sugar anymore hardly and you replace it with something else like honey, something that has actual benefits to it, it's hard to scoop that sugar out and not think a whole lot about it. Okay, on this I'm going to put a sheet of waxed paper. I would normally say use parchment on most things, but you know what? I've used wax paper for so long, and these come off wax paper very easily. Do not put these directly on a cutting board or a baking sheet or something like that, because you're not going to get them off near as cleanly as you would on a cutting board. So I cut this a little bit longer than my cutting board because I'm wrapping it around the ends, and if I set my cutting board down, it holds it nice and tight and it doesn't move around. So we are ready when our cookies get to the stage to where they can go on this. We're actually ready for it with our paper there. All right, I have my burner turned on a little bit higher than medium. And I'm going to go ahead and put my unsweetened cocoa powder in. This is, let me make sure I can get this. This is just Seiko Conscious Kitchen organic cocoa. Just use whatever kind you have, dark chocolate, whatever. Just make sure it's the unsweetened kind. So we're going to put 4 level tablespoons of this in there. So basically 1/4 of a cup is what you're looking at. And then our 2 cups of sugar. This is just a crazy amount to me, but I didn't used to think a thing about this. All right, turn that down just a little bit because it's kind of sizzling. Okay, 2 cups of sugar. And let's see, I'm going to use a wooden spoon. I just don't really even trust the silicone spatulas for this. This just gets really hot. Okay, give that all a mix in there just so your cocoa won't, in its dry state, just float around. It's so lightweight. Just kind of flies it through the air sometimes. Okay, to this we are going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Got my salt cellar up there. Try and eyeball a 1/2 teaspoon because I have a teaspoon measuring spoon. And I have a 1/2 cup of milk measured out right here. That's whole milk. I'm going to pour that in. So that is all of our mix to start with. That's all we're going to start. We're going to bring this up to a boil. Turn it back up just a bit. Okay, I'm going to show you a hack real quick with this. We're going to be adding, once this comes to a boil, we're going to let it cook for a minute. We're going to let it boil for a minute, and then we're going to add our peanut butter and our vanilla. But this is the peanut butter I'm going to be using. And again, for all you Oklahoma people who don't have a Kroger, I'm sorry, but just find the peanut butter. Now, I don't know if you can see this. Let me see if I can see it on this side of the camera. Probably not. This just says organic peanuts, sea salt. That's the only ingredients in it. This does not have sugar. So go look at your peanut butter. I grew up using name brand peanut butter in our house. I didn't even know there was such a thing, a peanut butter without sugar in it. I just thought it was mashed up peanuts. I don't know. I was just, country. I was dumb. So I grew up thinking that's just what peanut butter always tastes like, is that super sweet kind. I had no clue. I didn't read ingredients. And then when I discovered peanut butter without sugar in it, I was like, wow, this is good. This tastes like peanuts. It doesn't taste like peanut butter frosting, which is just almost sickening to me. I'm not a fan of sweet peanut butter stuff, but I just didn't know. But once I started buying this kind that just has peanuts and sea salt in it, oh my word. So you're not going to get a sickening sweet product here because you don't have the 2 cups of sugar in this and then your extra sugar in the peanut butter. I mean, not that it's not super sweet, it is, but I'm just saying that once you start buying that kind, especially on like apple slices, oh my goodness, it's so good. There's no need for that sugar in there. That's just craziness. So go to your store, local store, and look for the peanut butter that doesn't have any sugar in it. You won't thank me for it, but you will probably like it a lot. I'll just say that. I'm not gonna go nuts about it, and then you go, this doesn't taste right. because you might like that sugar in there, but I'm telling you, this stuff is good. Okay, so here's my hack. So I have, this is, you could call this a sorbet scoop. You could call this a cookie dough scoop. I use it for cookie dough a lot. But because this holds 1 tablespoon, I just measure out my peanut butter because it calls for 1/4 cup of peanut butter when we add it to that in just a minute. So I'm going to use 4 of these scoops, and then I'm going to turn right around and use this to scoop my cookie dough out with, and it doesn't bother it. I mean, if it gets a little bit extra peanut butter on the top of the cookie, then that's no big deal. So just anything to keep from using another spoon. Good lands, I use enough spoons. Oh shoot, I forgot to get my measuring cup out of the cabinet, so I'll have to figure out what else I'm going to do. I need 3½ cups quick oats. Okay, going to move this camera real quick. Get up here in my cabinet and get my, one of my many stacks. I got measuring cups here, I got one right there, got 2 stacks back there, I got a fancy stack right here, and then I got another stack right there. I got measuring cups everywhere. And then we have the glass measuring cups and the big measuring cups right there. So as you can tell, I got lots. All right, let's get this turned back around here if I can figure out where I had the camera. All right, at least you can get a little glimpse of when it's coming to a boil. All right, I think you can see that it's coming to a boil right there. So we're going to let this cook for a minute. And when I say we're going to let it cook for a minute, I don't mean just, oh, we'll let it cook for a minute. I'm saying, like, look at your watch and time it for about a minute. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And you can stir it, or you can just leave it as it is. I just like to make sure things are out of the corners. If you do not let this boil at least 1 minute, you're going to have cookies that are not set up properly. They're going to be floppy, or it's going to look like melted fudge or something like that, which the flavor is going to be exactly the same. But I actually had somebody come up to me in a supermarket a few months ago, and I put a recipe in one of our little local publications, and they said, would you do no-bake cookies in there? Because I can't ever get them to turn out right. But we talked a little bit, and I think what they were not doing maybe was at least letting them boil, just a full rolling boil for a minute. So, okay, we're coming up on a minute right now. I'm going to turn my heat off. And I think you'll be able to see this if I move this over here. All right, so I'm going to put 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla in this. And you got to kind of be careful. I try to put it like on the wooden spoon and not just right down in the hot liquid, because it will kind of spatter sometimes. All right, so 1/4 cup of peanut butter, and like I said, this measures out a tablespoon. So 4 of these should be 1/4 cup. And I find that this peanut butter, the organic peanut butters are not real consistent in their consistency. Some of them are super runny and some of them are super thick. And of course, you have to stir most of them when you get them. But you know, some people say, oh, it's not worth it. I don't like it being that runny or that thick. It's worth it to me just because of the ingredients. But if it's not worth it to you, then just buy what you want to. But I do like these. Okay, has a little bit of peanut butter left in there, but not much. All right, to this, let me check my recipe again over here. We're going to add 3½ cups of quick oats. Now these are not instant oats. As you can see, I use quite a bit of oatmeal. I use it for a lot of things, and I buy it in very large containers. So we're going to get 3½ cups. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and 1/2. I keep this in a sealed container in my pantry. You don't want to keep it forever because it's a grain product, and when they mill it, it just has little eggs for larvae in there, and the bugs will hatch out. So don't put it in a warm place. Keep it in a cool place if you have it in a container like that. But I use mine quick enough. I don't think it's been, it's probably been years since I've had a bug come in my oatmeal, but I kind of keep a close eye on that. You just learn to do that when you're dealing with grain products. Okay, so this is our cookie mix right here. Gonna just give it a stir, make sure all of our ingredients are incorporated. And we'll go over and scoop this out onto our wax paper. I'll pick up a couple of scoops of that and empty it out. That way I can get all the peanut butter out of it. These smell really good. I'm glad they're going to my neighbor's house because I could eat the whole pan. All right, let's go over and scoop these out. All right, let's make sure you can get a good view of this. I think you can. Okay, got the other camera turned off. Let me turn on an overhead light on that part of the island so it won't look like we're making cookies in the dark. And I have bread going over here. I'm making hamburger buns for later, so that's what we got going on in the background. I just had to turn the mixer off while I made these real quick. All right. I don't think you need to put these far apart. That's just for when you bake things and they spread out. These are not going to spread out. These are going to stay in whatever shape you put them on as long as you've cooked them your minute and they don't start flattening out. So just heaping scoop of that. Sometimes you have to kind of shape them up a little bit if a blob falls off the side. Try to get these as close as you can because it's pretty much going to fill up this entire sheet of wax paper. And you can put the wax paper out on your countertop. Just know that the wax on the opposite side will kind of melt and get on your countertop, and you have to scrub it off a little bit, but nothing that a little scrubbing doesn't take care of. One time when we lived in Tulsa, I had a physician contact me, and he commissioned me or hired me to make cookies. It was National Nurses Week, I believe, as best I remember. This has been like 20 years ago. Or more than 20 years ago. And he said, I want 3 different kinds of cookies, and I want them delivered to these nurses. And there were probably, I don't know, maybe 20 clinics on the list. It was a lot of cookies. And I wound up making 500 of each cookie. And this was one of them. And after that day, I wondered if I'd ever make no-bake cookies again because I was out of my mind trying to get those things done and delivered. And they were all over South Tulsa and Mid Tulsa and North Tulsa. So I was quite glad to get rid of all those cookies. But the nurses were so sweet. They were so excited when the packages came because they didn't know that Dr. Jennings was sending anything to them, and they had never had anything like that before. So that was really fun. They were so sweet. And I was just basically the messenger. So that was a lot of fun. But that was, oh my goodness, that was a lot of cookies. 1,500 cookies in just a matter of days. I thought my kitchen was able to handle a lot, but that was almost my limit right there. I had cookies sitting on every piece of furniture in containers, of course, but I had it all over my house. Then once you get the cookies made, you have to divvy them up and have the same amount in each box, and you have to figure out what packaging you're going to use. And of course, you got to make the box look pretty, and got to put the business cards on the boxes, and they were just sweet. I had them, I think I put them in white boxes and had some brown, just natural string tied up on them, and that was before the farmhouse style. It became popular and all, but oh, those nurses just thought they were the cutest things ever. So that was a lot of fun. That's a good memory. Now, my neighbor had a sleepover last night. I don't know how many kids were over there. I only saw one little boy in the driveway playing basketball with them last night. So there may just be one other kid, but hopefully none of his guests have nut allergies. I know that none of the kids in the house that I'm taking these to have nut allergies. And the dad doesn't have a nut allergy, and he only likes chocolate, so he's such a stinker. No matter what I take over there, he acts so excited about it, but if it's not chocolate, I know good and well he's not going to eat it. He's so funny. But we love, love, love that family. We have really, really good neighbors in our neighborhood. I feel sorry for people who don't have good neighborhoods like we do. Okay, you'll wind up putting some of these on little obscure areas right here at the edge. But, okay, I got most of it out. I might can get one more out of there. If I don't scrape it all out, I'm telling you, I will scrape it out with a spoon, and I'll eat every speck of it that's in there. So whatever's in there, I'm fixing to eat standing over the sink. I don't do a lot of sugar, but when it's something like that, I'm not wasting it, and it's yummy. Okay, so we have our cookies done. I may take a picture of these when I get them on a plate or something, whatever, and I'm going to take them over next door and just let you see what they look like. But for right now, we just need to let them sit here and cool, because although they're not runny, they're just a little flexible still. You can still shape them with your hand. If you needed to just roll them up in a ball, you could. But this is a good time to take all those little stray edges and pack them into the cookies themselves. So don't those look pretty? They're so shiny. Once they start cooling off, they're not quite as shiny as this, but I like when they're at that shiny stage. Okay, we'll be back in just a bit, and I'll show you what they look like before we send them over. Okay, this is what's left. This is what you have left after you pick all the cookies off. And this is our box of cookies. So I have 2 colors of tissue paper in the box, but I also lined it with more wax paper because it has butter in the cookies, and it just looked like a big greasy spot on that wax, on that tissue paper if it started touching it. So we're going to close these up and take them over and make a delivery now.